Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Chant Day. We are here. We are here on Tuesday. Yes, this is the day after the big pause. It's a pause in work. It's labor to honor work, to remember that we are working. We are working. So as everyone got off yesterday, they got off. I hope everybody got off yesterday, really, in terms of using that time to empower you yourself to be free, and remembering that the U.S. was built on free labor. So how do we honor those that use their free labor to build what we have today? That's what we should celebrate when it comes to Labor Day, celebrating those who gave their free labor to build this country, right? And that free labor was on the backs of uh, many people that may not be here today, but their uh, remnants, their descendants are here today. And they deserve to be honored, to be remembered on the day that the country celebrates Labor Day, because of the free labor that was given to the country, the free labor. Um, and now, as we are today, remembering that we have to be about not just ourselves, not just ourselves. Give thanks. Give thanks for your kind compliments, words of kindness. I receive them fully. Now, the psalm today is two psalms. One of them that's scheduled for today is 134, and Psalm 134 um, has 3 verses, just three. So the psalm for Tuesday, this is the day of Maksanyo in the Ethiopian Days of the Strong, Maksanyo, and Tuesday is that day. Maksanyo, yesterday was Sanyo, that was Monday. So for those that want to read that psalm, that's for Monday, it's 48. Okay. 48. And then for Tuesday, we have 82, Psalm 82. And Psalm 82 is what we will read today, along with Psalm 134. So come on, join me for Chant Day as we get ready to translate, uplift the words of the psalm. The psalms are powerful. They're giving thanks to a higher power that is those of you out there call God, Lord, Jesus. You have your personal relationship. This is relationship building. So I cannot tell you this is the name above all names that you should call. That is your relationship. Just know that a name that you call must be come forward with the actions of that one that you're calling. So you have to be careful, because remember in the psalm yesterday, the one who made the eyes can see, the one who made the ears can hear. So knowing that, you have to live your life in that way, and not in the way that God ain't seeing you, or God is not listening to you. Yes. um so come, bless righteousness. That's the psalm today. Come and bless righteousness. And Psalm 82 is more specific in terms of rescue the weak and needy. And I put in the description weak as in the WEEK. People say, have a good week. What are you doing this week? Weak. And I don't like to use that. So I use the word that's opposite of that is strong. Because the world, you have to really remember that the word of God, the word of the Most High, is rare. When I use the word rare, I mean not like a steak. You want your steak rare. No, I'm talking about rare in terms of nobody is using it. Nobody speaks in the language of righteousness. Okay, not many are careful with their words and purify their words in the fire 7 times. Everyone doesn't do that. So that's what this channel is about. And I am going to start with rescuing the weak and needy, Psalm 82, as it has 8 verses. So I always ask that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart is acceptable in the sight of what is righteous, what is good, what is mercy, what is love, what is kindness. So righteousness has taken place in the divine teachings. So I have been told, because I'm a woman, I'm not supposed to be teaching about God. And this is not teaching about God. This is bringing a relationship to God, to that higher force, so that your life may have outcomes that are abundance of goodness. Because a lot of people are living in hell. They're living in hell every day. And it's sad because I give thanks that I am not, and that give thanks that, that could be me. That could be I. That could be I living in depression and a state of suicidal ideations and a state of, turmoil and a state of despair. A lot of people are living within those spaces, and they're making space for it instead of making space for the opposite. So that's why I make space for the opposite. I make space for strong. I make space for compassion. I make space for love. I make space for kindness. I make space for the abundance of goodness. I make space for these things that allow an outcome that is positive. And in that, I am taught how to glorify that within my vessel, within the body that I have been given. I have been taught to glorify all that is good, all that is kind and loving and compassionate and merciful and not selfish, but selfless. That, okay, I'm going to wash your feet just as you wash mine, not because I'm a woman, I'm supposed to wash yours and then mine is not washed. We have to have reciprocity. We have to reciprocate. And in that reciprocity, we see ourselves as more than just ourselves, but as arbiters of positive creations and a positive destiny by being of service, serving. And that is where the joy comes. And the word today is joy. Okay, joy. So we'll get to that in a moment. But let's look at Psalm 82 for Maxanio, Tuesday. Righteousness has taken place in the divine teaching, in the midst of the gods. righteousness holds judgment. Okay. And verse 2 is a question, because we may feel that people are getting over. We may feel that, right? However, there's a question in verse 2. How long will righteousness judge unjustly? We may think that's happening and show partiality to the wicked. And then it ends with Selah. So that question in itself needs to be thrown out, because it's basically reciprocal in terms of there's no unjust judgment that righteousness will have upon or show partiality to the wicked. That's not happening. So verse 3, giving justice to the weak and the fatherless, right? I am fatherless. I do not have my earthly father anymore on the earth. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Okay. And when we talk about fatherless, we also have to look at the other side of that, that's motherless, because some people have lost their moms. You know, children may lose their mom at 7 years old, at 9 years old, at 40 something years old. Some people lose their moms earlier in life or later in life. Regardless of that, we know that justice is given to the weak and the ones without a mother and father on the earth, right? These are the ones who will be given justice, because it talks about the unjust judging these wicked folks in an unjust and showing partiality to the wicked. However, this is who is going to be given justice: the weak and the father and motherless. And their righteousness is going to be maintained because they've been afflicted and they are destitute. Okay. And when they've been afflicted in terms of people calling and leaving cursing voicemails to people who just lost their father. So righteousness is going to give justice to those who are fatherless and motherless and weak, because their righteousness is going to be maintained, because they're being afflicted. They're being afflicted by the fact that they're weak and the fact that they've lost their father or they've lost their mother. And these results in that maintenance of their righteousness, because the weak and the needy will be rescued and delivered from the hand of the wicked. So when you feel weak and you feel needy and you feel that way, you're going to be delivered from the hand of the wicked. So the wicked will not have power over you at all, because you are going to be delivered. And justice will be given to the weak and to the fatherless and motherless. And their righteousness will be maintained because they've been afflicted and they're destitute. Okay. In verse 5 now, it talks about having neither knowledge nor firm standing in righteousness, walking around in a depression, and in suicidal ideations and thoughts of ending your life, or thoughts of, anxiety and despair. And the foundations, of the earth are shaken, in terms of you have nothing to fall back on. The foundations are gone. Because nobody is, sometimes people are not laying these foundations down for their children. manners and respect and kindness and love and, humility and, long suffering and, allowing children to know that you have to work hard to achieve anything, and that you are worthy of achieving those things that you seek to achieve. Because in verse 6, it talks about speaking about I and I are gods. I and I are sons and daughters of the Most High. We've been in that iristical adoption, people call spiritual, but it's a I rights. I am righteous. I am a righteous son of God. I am a righteous daughter of God. I am a righteousness. And all of I and I, nevertheless, as a mortal, as a man, as a woman, I and I shall die and fall as anyone else, even, a prince or a princess or something, someone royal has to die. So am I going to have to as well. So you can talk about you are gods, you are sons and daughters of the Most High, all of you, all of I and I are. However, nevertheless, this is going to be, this is going to come to I and I. So why not live in a righteousness now so that when that time comes, it's not going to be suffering, because you've had that long suffering on earth. You didn't steal from folks. You didn't try to get over while you were on this earth. You did good to others. You were honest. You had integrity. You gave of yourself in a selfless way, and not taking and taking and taking from people and from systems of or organizations. And when you live your life in a service of righteousness, you will receive, when that time comes, you won't suffer. In other words, you won't have long suffering because you've suffered already. You've given of yourself. And you don't have to wait for your to leave your body to be one with righteousness, to be one with God. You can be one with God now and build that relationship today. So the Psalm today, 82, rescuing the weak and the needy, the final verse is, for righteousness to arise and judge the earth, for I and I shall inherit all the nations. So, in terms of inheritance, in terms of abundance of goodness, in terms of a lucrative venture, in terms of producing some product or service that is going to benefit a business, that will benefit a payroll, that will benefit families, that will benefit others, is where I am building that generational wealth for my employees, for my students, for individuals who want to come to the table and work and want to produce. Yes, we consume. Yes, we go out. Yes, we buy things for ourselves to maintain our, what people call, peace of mind, or a harmonic balance in our lives. And we don't want to become worshipers of those things, because when those things are not there anymore, are we going to have a fit? What's going to happen? Are we going to still be maintaining our righteousness and knowing, oh, that's not there anymore, that's long suffering, we have to suffer without it, but we're going to maintain our cause that is righteous, that is grace, compassion, mercy, loyalty? Okay. So that is Psalm 82. Rescue the weak and needy. And this is for those who feel alone, who feel like they need to have a physical person in their life, irregardless of the control and manipulation of that person or the unhappiness that that person brings, yet they stay there because they don't want to be alone. And when you don't want to be alone, it's a sign that you are afraid of the relationship building with God, with righteousness, because that is the first step in your relationship with that higher power, and that power that is going to give you positive outcomes. But when you separate from that relationship and dive into someone similar to what I did, you're going to get, caught up in the outcomes of that, in disappointments and, heartbreak, because you're looking for that person to fulfill something that you've missed, or that's not there with you, or you feel is not there with you. And when that happens, it becomes tension. It becomes, arguments about different things that are not about that, different things. And the shift in the narrative shifts into other things, and arguments ensue based on the dishes, or based on this or that, when it's really not that. It's about something else, something deeper. And the disappointments that are arise because of putting, all the expectations into someone. So I don't put expectations into people. I don't expect anything from anyone, and I don't expect anyone to love me or to be there in any kind of way, because I have an advocate that is higher than anyone else can reciprocate. So that is that is Rescue the Weak and Needy, Psalm 82. And our other psalm today, 134, is 3 verses, and it's come, bless righteousness. Come and bless. And I ask that the words of this psalm, the words of my mouth, and the meditation in my heart is acceptable to all that is righteousness, and that is God and Lord and Jesus and love and Selassie first, and all the kindness and mercy that is in abundance in that space, and that I'm making space for that right now. So the Psalm 134 starts with, come, bless the Lord, all you servants of the Lord. So who is the Lord? The Lord is righteousness. The Lord is mercy, kindness. So come and bless that. And all that serve that will come and bless that. And all that stand through the night in the house of righteousness. Lift up your hands to the ancient place, the happy place, and bless righteousness. Bless the Most High. May the Most High of righteousness and mercy and kindness bless all of you out there from a place of goodness. Remember, I mentioned make that a space for that place. Make space for that place, and that place is called Zion. That place is called heaven. That place is called Edom. That place is called Mount Isla. That place is called, the up to the hills, the mountains. So we look at that as the maker of the heaven and earth, that one that made the universe, that created all of that. Science cannot even explain certain things. And I just, and Selah and Selah again for that psalm. Yeah, that's Psalm 134. Very short psalm, 3 verses. We're coming to bless righteousness. But these are the things science are not able to explain, and they attribute to the Most High. So science does look at the Most High according to this that I found. So these are 10 things that science is not able to explain and attribute to a higher force, the Most High. The first thing is the universe and its origins. And I remember as a little girl, I always wanted to talk about the universe and the origins of that. And I was so much more older than my peers mentally in terms of wanting to talk about that. And nobody else my age wanted to talk about that. So I would gravitate to older people all the time. So the second thing that science is not able to explain and attribute to the Most High is intelligent design. How we are intelligently, the universe, they call it the Goldilocks universe. Number 3, awareness. They call it consciousness, but I don't use the word con. Excuse me. I use fire eye. I use the word awareness. So awareness, knowledge, and being awake, awareness, awake. The fourth one is morality. Okay. Science is not able to explain that and they attribute that to the Most High. Morality. Materialistic desire is something science is not able to explain, and they attribute that to the Most High. People who have this desire to acquire material things. I will call that greedy. And that number 5 is idol worship, greedy, selfish. That's that number 5. Number 6 is the DNA, design of life. How that design is, science is not able to explain the origins of that or how that came to be. They attribute that to the Most High too. Number 7, I know of from experience, existence of miracles. I have had miracles happen. I even have named my car Miracle because it's a miracle that I have a car after so many different mishaps with cars, mishaps in terms of financial decisions being made with others with cars. So anyway, number 8, human connection or human relation. I will call it relation as opposed to connection. No con. Number 9, life after death. So science is not able to explain that after the body leaves, after the body stays rather, and the life inside is gone, they cannot explain that life, where that life goes. Okay. And the final one, number 10, the meaning of life in general is something that science is not able to explain. And they attribute it to the Most High. So that is interesting. So I had to pull that in there because the feeling of joy, I'm hearing the geese outside. The feeling of joy is something that comes from a higher source, because when you tap in to God, you have a sense of joy. It's an automatic thing. And people may say, oh, she's fake, she can't be so joyful, look at that, what's happened to her. And it's interesting because you have to stay within that space. You have to stay within there. So my heart is full of joy, full of joy. I begin each day by choosing joy. Rather than waiting for pleasant surprises or other serendipitous happenings to spark joy within me, meaning outside of myself, someone bringing me flowers or waiting for someone to do something to me to be joyful, I carry that joy inside and expect to attract joyful experiences as I journey out. So, faith and imagination is that strength for I and I to live a joyful life. Through faith, I believe joy, or I know about joy, is part of I and I, one of the righteous gifts that we are given. Just like you are given a gift to wake up and tune into this channel, that's a gift, that's a present. You have been given something in that present moment, you've been given. And in that, you have joy. And you use your imagination to picture how you're going to find joy, how joy is found and shared with others, inspiring others to find joy for themselves. So it's not that someone depends on you to bring them joy. However, you receive that joy from the knowledge that you have an advocate, that you're not alone out here. And finding that joy for yourself is part of that journey in relationship building with that creator, that most high, that what El Sue there's talked about, being grateful for that most high daily, because that is that source. So you tap in, you tap in, you tap in, you tap into that source. So much more it's than a feeling of happiness or an attitude of positivity. It's so much more. Joy is so much more. Joy has roots in righteousness. That's another shirt I'm going to create. Roots in righteousness. So that roots in righteousness, that roots in righteousness gives that empowerment for change. That's where that change begins, within that person. So you want the world to change, you want this to happen in the world, you have to be that. It starts with you. It cannot start with you dictating to other people to be a certain way and you're not. You have to be that change, and you have to be that one that pushes that change just by your life, just by living. We're not going to have a dogmatic, preachy or dogmatic about it. You're going to be humble about it in terms of this is how you live, and this is how that positivity and that joy is rooted in righteousness. And that joy is the satisfaction that you feel when your heart is full and you feel related to everything around you, right? You're related to compassion that's around you. You're related to kindness. You're related to love that is not of the world love, but love that is genuinely and unprecedented love that goes beyond what you may see on the surface, but underneath is that long suffering, is that compassion, that grace, that kindness, that mercy, and that loyalty, and really forgiveness. That's all bubbling up that brings that joy. And joy is a kind of superpower. It's a righteous superpower. And with joy, you are able to transcend the limits of the world and lift yourself into the realm of righteousness. So we have another t-shirt, into the realm of righteousness. So the realm of righteousness, and you being an imitator of all that is compassionate and good, then you're less likely to forget to or hell, hold the door open for someone, or you're less likely to forget that that person needs you. You know, their dad just passed or their mom just passed, and you need to be there for them, even though you are not in that space. You put yourself in that space for someone else. It's, what is it called? Empathy, sympathy. You know, you put yourself there, and that true love resonates because it does not go away. It's all the time there. Just like what God, people call God is an all the time God, an on time, all the time God. You know, God always is working. And what is that that's working? It's the righteousness of that one that you call God that's working. So don't fight somebody because they call Papa Boji. That's, you know, French for Father God. Don't, you know, crucify someone because they wear a hijab and you don't. You know, half naked. Don't, you know, hate someone because they're half naked and you're not, or you're not and they are, you know, vice versa, whatever it is. You be that you are about, that authentic. Be authentic. Don't hide behind someone else's picture, in other words. You know, your profile picture, that's you. Especially if you're a university student and you have your girlfriend's picture, your boyfriend's picture as your profile. What? You're a student, don't, you know, um, or have you and the person, but having just that person says that that's a dictating, manipulative and controlling situation, that you're so deep involved, or that person and you are so deep involved that you have to control their profile picture, their Facebook, their social media, you know, all of what makes them who they are is being controlled by someone else, tells me, you know, a lot about the person that's being controlled, that they're weak and needy. And when somebody is weak and needy, there's a rescue for that. Psalm 82. Okay, rescue the weak and needy. And that's what I ask. I ask for people to be rescued because people are needy. They need a relationship. They need a relationship with others, and they forget to build a relationship with God. If they're alone in the hospital, they're alone in the hospital for a reason, just like Jonah was in the belly of the whale for a reason. You know, God isolates you to talk to you. And when God isolates you to talk to you, you have to listen. You have to be willing to listen and to be present in that gift. Because God doesn't sit there and, you know, want to talk to everybody. You know, it, you know, and when you're isolated and you're alone, that's what that is about. And you have to embrace that. So the psalm today, rescue the weak and needy, is for those people out there who need rescuing. And the Psalm 134 is for those who want to come and bless the Lord, who've already been rescued. They've been rescued, they've been saved, they've been given gifts, and in abundance, they've been given goodness in abundance. So coming and the psalm for them is 134. Come and bless the Most High. Come, and all those that serve. Now it's specific. It's not just anybody come to bless righteousness. It's those who are already righteous, who already embody that, who are imitators of that, who are servants of that, who stand through the night in the house of righteousness, right? Lift up their hands to righteousness, to the place, making that space for that righteousness that's above, not below in your private parts, below down here. It's above. That's what you seek. And when you seek for what's above, you have less to worry about, because what's above is going to help what's below. It's going to lift all of it up. And in verse 3, it's like, may righteousness bless all of I and I out of the place of righteousness, out of the place of goodness and mercy, because righteousness is that one that made the heaven, that made the universe, according to science, not able to explain the universe and its origins, because righteousness is who made it and made the earth. And all of what was made for I and I good. And if you look at it, the earth is just one planet, but all the others are maintaining the earth. They're all working together for the good of I and I. So the psalm today for two different types of individuals who are seeking to build their relationship with the Most High. Psalm 134, those who are already on solid food and now they're coming to bless the Lord. And Psalm 82, those who are drinking milk and they still need rescuing like a baby, because they're weak and they're needy. So we look at those two Psalms, and then we look at the joy, lifting yourself into the realm of righteousness. And I had to write that for a shirt, into the realm of righteousness. And that joy, the word joy is supported by 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 40. And all the people went up. They didn't go down. They went up following this righteous one, playing on pipes and rejoicing with great joy. So exactly what I just talked about. We seeking for what's above, not for what's below. Okay. So when we seek for what's above, we have outcomes, and it results in positive outcomes. It results in an abundance of goodness. It results in a superpower of righteousness, that anything coming at you, you can take it, right? Just like it's always spoken of, God doesn't give you more than you can bear, right? God allowed me to see my dad on the ground like that because God knows I could bear that. I'm gonna come out of it okay. And I'm gonna even pull others up out of it too, by speaking to God and communing with that righteousness on behalf of those ones who are suffering the loss of my dad. Not just me that loved my dad and he was just for me. No, he was for all people, right? So 1 Kings chapter 140 resonates. All the people went up. It didn't say they went down following him. They went up following the righteousness, because that's where righteousness dwells. It's up. And in that righteousness, we have rejoicing with joy. And it's not just joy, it's great joy. So 1 Kings 140, I love it. It solidifies the word today, joy. And it gives a great push off into your journey, your relationship with righteousness, with goodness and mercy and love. So we look at that. Hope never disappoints. I talked about disappointments, right? But it says hope never disappoints. This is for September 3rd. This is out of Max Lucado's Walking with the Savior, as you build your relationship with righteousness. So I translate hope into honor, righteousness never disappoints, goodness, mercy, all of that. A future, hope is like a future outcome that I'm talking about now, once you invest in being a servant of goodness, your outcome is going to be, abundance of goodness. So it's never going to disappoint. So that's a translation for this. And it's coming out of Romans 54, verse 5. Oh my gosh, Romans 54, verse 5. And patience produces character. That's why I talked about being alone. You can be alone and it's going to have an outcome where you're building a relationship with righteousness that is going to build your character. It's going to build your loyalty to a person because you are long suffering without the person. So that character building and that character produces an outcome of a future that is in abundance of goodness. And this abundance of goodness, that's your future, will never disappoint. It will never disappoint because God, that is righteousness, has poured out that love to fill I and I hearts. And I always speak of, I want someone in my life, a physical person, to pour into me as I pour into them. I took that quote out because, and it's interesting, I took it out before I read this. On my Instagram, I have that quote. I have a quote, I want someone to pour into me as I pour into them. And I took it out yesterday and put in something different. And now that I look at Romans 54, is it 54 or 4? No, Romans 5, verse 5, verse 45. Oh, wow. And my dad is 545, May 1945. And this Romans, I have to look for this now. Romans 5. Yeah, it's Romans 5, everybody, 4-5. It's not Romans 54 as I thought. It's Romans chapter 5, and the title of that is Love with Righteousness Through Faith. So you're loving righteousness, even though you may not see outcomes yet. The faith is that you're producing that love, that action of righteousness. All the actions of righteousness is with God, is with the Most High, is with righteousness itself. And that is through your faith to know that, okay, these are some stairs. They don't lead to anywhere, but I'm going to keep climbing them. And I have faith to know my righteousness is going to keep me up, and I'm going to follow him, okay? As First Kings talks about, you're going to, follow righteousness up. So September 3rd, righteousness never disappoints. People may disappoint you. You may love someone and invest in that person and want to be with that person and want them to change and may break off certain things for them to look at themselves and change. And when they don't, and they end up, being disloyal or being dishonest and being, going out on you with someone else, it really disappoints. And sometimes it can make people go into a tailspin of depression and anxiety because relationships are ending and you didn't want that. You wanted them to change and be into generational wealth, and you have to let it go. You have to know that patience produces character, and character produces a future that is bright and filled with abundance. And that future will never disappoint. That patience that produces character will not disappoint. Okay? People may disappoint you, but that righteousness and that produces, it's an action that produces character, and that character is going to produce a future of abundance. So here's a checklist of criteria for handling problems: a clear head, a clean heart, a calm life, and an awareness of a future in righteousness. That's who you're married to. You're married to righteousness. And that's another shirt. Married to righteousness. So that's the checklist or of criteria for handling problems. When a problem comes up, you have to have a clear head about it. Okay, this person did this to you, this happened, you're hurt, you deal with it with a clear head. Then you have to have a clean heart. Your heart has to be clean. It cannot be jealous, envious, vengeful. It can't be any of that. You have to just release that, let that go, and have a clean heart. You have to have a calm life about you. Your life can't be hellish. So get away from hell and hello and stop this words that are about hell. Get rid of that, right? Have a calm life with your words and make them uplifting. And then you want to have an awareness and a satisfaction, really, because you want to have that joy. The joy is the satisfaction that you feel when your heart is full. And your heart being full and you feeling related to righteousness that's around you. So when it comes, you're not going to push it away. You're going to welcome it. And you're going to know how to discern these spirits, so-called spirits. You're going to know how to discern them. So in that righteousness, I love Max Lucado's Righteousness Never Disappoints. This there's a checklist for that. Romans 5, and I'll read chapter 5, Romans. It says, therefore, from such time ago, I have been justified through faith. I have love and harmony and balance with righteousness through the one that was crucified, right? That righteousness, the word. Through righteousness, I have also obtained access through faith into the space of grace where I stand. So that's, we make space for that grace where I stand and where I are joyful all the time in the future of the glory of righteousness. For righteousness is going to be glorified. Righteousness is going to cover the earth as the water cover the sea. Not only that, however, I are joyful when I are suffering. When I are sad or depressed, or we still going to look at the other side of it and be joyful. It's hard to say that and do that, but we don't want to say, we want to speak, because Satan is coming in our words. When we talk about say, we don't want say, we want to speak the words of righteousness. Okay, so not only are we going to rejoice in the sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces righteousness and a future in that, and that future does not put I to shame, because righteousness's love has been poured into I hearts through the righteous sacredness that's called the Holy Spirit that has been given to I. That's there. We got to tap in, tap in, tap in. Remember I talked about tap in. For while we were still weak, at the right time, Christ died for the ungodly. For one will scarcely die for a righteous person, though perhaps for a good person one would dare even to die. However, God shows God's love for I in that while I were still sinners, Christ died for I. From such time, therefore, I have now been justified through the blood of righteousness. Much more shall I be saved through righteousness from the wrath of righteousness itself. So, for while I were enemies, I were redeemed, or I return now to righteousness. Some people are returning now to build their relationship with righteousness, with God, through the death of God's Son. So people accepting Jesus, that's their way in, and then they stop. You can't stop. You gotta keep, your life has to be imitators of that. Imitate what Jesus was about. Imitate that long suffering. It's written here in Romans chapter 5. More than, and then you shall be related to that righteousness. And then shall I be saved through that righteousness' life. We're not saved. We're saved through the crucifixion, yes, but we're also saved through the life that Jesus got off of the cross, got out of the tomb, and lives. So because that is the case, we have to be aware, like, oh my goodness, this one could be coming here any minute of the day. Let me clean up. Let me get my bed made up. Let me clean the house up. Let me do this and get ready for our Lord is upon us, is now. But people don't do that. People do not have that same long suffering. They are needy. They're weak. And that's when they go and find another person or someone else outside themselves to satisfy them. When then that person doesn't, they're disappointed. They're disappointed because they may be with someone who's also weak and needy. And then the weak and needy attract the weak and needy, and it's confusion. So when I look at the love that's pouring in, that God's love, righteousness's love has been poured into I heart. So my heart is healing. Yes, it's broken. It was broken into pieces. But now it's been healed through the word. Through the word, it's been healed. And I speak these words for those out there who also need healing from sadness and depression and suicidal ideations, because God's love has been poured into your heart. Receive it. Receive it. Receive it. Receive that love. That love has been poured into you through this sacred righteousness that I'm talking about has been given to all of I. For while I were still weak at the right time, Christ died for the ungodly. So I'm at the top of the hour here, and I could go into Romans deeply again here. We have been, I don't want to use the word reconciled because it has a con in there. So reconciliation is when it's the act of causing two people or groups to become friendly again after an argument or disagreement. So this idea of reconciliation that Romans chapter 5 is talking about is important, because you want to, and I'm going to look at what the meaning of reconciliation, and it's a process. It's a process of making two people, okay, or groups or organizations friendly again after they have argued seriously or fought and kept apart from each other. So we see this happening in our world, where people are fighting, groups are fighting other groups, and they're taking hostages, they're keeping apart from each other, they're arguing seriously. And this process of reconciliation, okay, or returning together again. That's what I'm going to rephrase it as. Returning together again, okay, to righteousness, okay, that because as an enemy of righteousness, you're going to be wrong. Anything opposite of right is wrong. So when you now have returned, right? You have come together again with righteousness. You're not attacking it anymore. You're not fighting against righteousness. You're not arguing with righteousness. You're returning to that. That's what reconciliation means. It means that what you used to argue with, you're not anymore. Okay? What you used to fuss about, oh, why do we have to get on our knees beside our bed and talk to God before we go and rest with each other? That's not happening anymore. You have been returned now to righteousness, okay? And signing a ceasefire, for example. You're gonna stop the fighting and the argument. That's what reconciliation is. It's that that action of putting to an end all the fuss and the fighting, and signing an agreement that you're going to now return to do good to each other. Okay? You're going to return to each other to do good, and being honest and being thankful to each other. And then you're not going to be disappointed, because you've put your faith now in that righteousness. You're returning to the goodness. You may not return to the person, but in order to keep the relationship with anyone solid, you have to have that relationship with righteousness, with God, with Lord, with Jesus. You have to be imitators and servants of that one, or nothing you do is going to work. Okay? When I write a grant or I write a proposal to get funding for my product or my service or anything that I'm producing, I always put righteousness first. And I always speak to righteousness. I speak and I commune with God, and I ask questions like, should I do this? What do you think about that? Oh, let me add this in here. Let me take this out. This is who I'm communing with. And people are like, oh, you're so blessed. You get all this stuff done. You get this, but there's the hard work behind it. I'm communing with righteousness. What are you doing? Are you supporting me by communing with God on my behalf and talking to God and say, oh, help this woman? What are people doing that are in my life, or so-called in my life? So we look at the Psalm today, and we are at the hour. We're up at the hour here. Some people just joining in, but I've been here for an hour now, and we're about to finish up. But I wanted to end with September 3rd, we're still in the book of Hosea. For those who are reading the Bible, we're in the book of Hosea, chapter 7 to 8. By chastening, the Lord separates the sin the Lord doesn't love from the sinner that the Lord loves. So here we go. This is powerful. We talk about this, that coming together in righteousness, the Most High separates that wrong behavior from that person, okay? Because he loves the person. So he's going to separate that wrongness that that person did or is doing. It's going to be separated because that Lord, that righteousness loves that person and is going to take them out of that sin. And that's what I ask for those out there who are feeling sad or depressed or have suicidal ideations. Know that that's the enemy. The enemy lives within you. And in order to annihilate the enemy, you have to annihilate part of yourself. That's not good. And that part has to go. That sin, that thinking that you're not worthy, telling yourself you're not good enough. That stuff got to go. Remove that and be together now with righteousness, right? What the word is, reconciliation. It's the process of coming together after you've been arguing and you've been in a disagreement with righteousness, or you've been in a disagreement with someone that's trying to tell you to do the right thing. You know, or you're being kept apart from each other all this time. Remember long suffering. All of that is inclusive. So by chastening or chastising, let's look up that word, chastening. It's to rebuke, restrain. It's a humbling effect. So it's having a restraining or humbling effect. So that's what chastening is. So chastening, this is how righteousness separates the wrongness that righteousness does not love from the sinner that righteousness loves. That person who's committing that sin is loved. That's what my mom said, oh, they made a mistake. People make mistakes. And that's where forgiveness comes in. I forgive those who have hurt me, because the love doesn't go away when someone hurts me, because I am an imitator and a servant of righteousness. So I have to stay in that place, right? So I love the fact that as we go into the book of Hosea 7 to 8, we look at the unrepentance of certain ones, people who didn't want to repent or didn't want to come into that knowledge of righteousness, but wanted to stay in an argumentative disagreement of what's right. So today is September 3rd. Tomorrow, I give thanks for this day. We don't know what tomorrow brings, but every 4th of the month, I celebrate my first son, who was born on January 4th. So every 4th of the month, I do a story time with Dr. Sewer. Tomorrow, I have a class I'm teaching, so I may go live during that story time with Dr. Sewer and read a story for my story time with Dr. Sewer. You won't see my students. You will just see me reading the story. So tune in for that. That may happen tomorrow. Subscribe to this channel. Go ahead and like this video, share this video, and tell all your friends to come build a relationship with righteousness. That's what we're doing. Chanting a psalm a day is not about getting likes or getting people, a 1,000 people to subscribe. It's not about that. It's about building relationship with righteousness, with goodness and mercy, and standing in that, being strong in your goodness and your faith. Because remember, righteousness rules. And that's another shirt. Righteousness rules. And the rules of righteousness are simple. Just love one another. So thanks for joining Chant Day. Have a blessed day, everyone. And remember, Soradokna, do good. Chant Day. Have a blessed day, everyone. Chant Day. Bless. Love you all.